Today's manhwa begins with the fact that we are shown beautiful natural landscapes. There are large green trees all around, the bright sun is shining, and apparently this is a simulation. We are shown the main character named Lin Tian, who is wearing his brand new Apple Vision Pro glasses. He is now in a video game, and is shocked by how realistic the scenes are. Taking off his cool glasses, the joyful Lin Tian is going to first play this game and try it out. Then he will decide whether it is worth buying it, or whether it is better to look for something better. The guy has already taken off his virtual reality glasses, but remains in the same simulation. He quickly looks around in bewilderment and cannot understand where he is now. Just recently, Lin Tian was in a shopping mall and happily played this game called Tasting Bar. The guy thought this game was simply amazing, and was amazed at the scenes he saw in it. Having come to terms with the fact that he is stuck in this game, just like his stepsister in a washing machine, the guy begins to wander around and realizes that life is an unpredictable thing, and you need to be prepared for anything. Continuing to wander through the forest, thinking about everything, our brown-haired main character sees someone's pink clothes lying on a stone and begins to look at it, trying to understand what it is. While he is looking at this pink fabric and cannot take his eyes off, he realizes whose clothes it is and he is going to start speculating about it. A brave guy decides to take this thing in his hands and realizes that it is actually women's clothing. He is very surprised by this and continues to look at it, unable to take his eyes off. This fool decides to put it on his cheek and realizes that this piece of clothing is still warm and begins to rub it on his face. Enjoying this moment, he begins to think that he is in heaven. After he has played enough with women's clothing, he begins to hurriedly examine the surroundings, intending to find the beauty to whom this item belongs, in order to return the clothes to its owner. While he was examining the forest surroundings, something attracted his attention. He took his eyes off his clothes and began to look directly at this object, and apparently was thinking of going straight to it. It turned out that this is a very attractive pink-haired girl who is bathing in the river right now. Our main character continues to look at the girl, and realizes that she is the owner of these things. This fool in love never approached her. He continues to enjoy her appearance, receiving visual satisfaction, and cannot believe that right now he is seeing all this in a virtual game. A super deadly system contacted Lin Tian, which gave him the first task, and by completing the tasks, the guy will receive experience and coins, and for failures, a decrease in intelligence. The main character already thinks that he is merged with the game. Our loser gets down on all fours and cries, pretending that he is sad, because he was just playing a normal game and everything suddenly became so vulgar. Apparently he is trying to show his decent side. According to the main character, he has served his country and people all his life. He considers himself a decent, kind, and good boy, and does not seem to want to carry out the task given by the system. But after a couple of moments, this fool shows his true face and is already about to complete the task from the system, namely to touch a beautiful girl, forgetting about his words spoken earlier. You can see how the guy is already starting to take a strong acceleration and puts his hand forward. Apparently he is now going to harshly touch the bathing girl, thereby completing the task. Continuing to run, he is getting closer and closer to the girl, and is already about to strike, while he motivates himself by saying that he can agree to do this, and that he is able to do it. You can see how Lin Tian touched the buns of this beauty. The system notified that this task had been completed, and gave 100 experience and 1,000 coins, while raising the guy's rank to a second-level martial arts master, which made him very happy. It can be seen that a girl named Xuan Kong was not happy with how an impudent guy touched her while she was bathing in the river and did not touch anyone at all, which is why she pushed his hand away from her. The dissatisfied pink-haired girl actually turns out to be a girl with a long, sharp blade, pointing it at the guy. She tries to find out who he is and does not understand how Lin Tian got here, thinking that she was spied on. The main character, apparently, continues to rejoice at the rewards received for the completed task, and trying to calm down Xuan Kong, he says that he was just passing through a mime and asks her to continue doing her business. The girl still doesn't understand how the guy got here, because her backyard is guarded and even flies can't get in here. She considers Lin Tian very beautiful, but at the same time frivolous and shameless. Xuan Kong is already tired of the presence of the main character on her territory, and having risen high up, she's going to strike him with her fatal blow with her sword, having insulted him before this, from which he is shocked. The Chinese chat GPT at this moment gives another task, namely to provoke death, the reward for which is an increase in experience, and in case of defeat a decrease in intelligence. The brown-haired man is not happy with this task. At this time, the pink-haired girl is already delivering her blow. Lin Tian manages to successfully dodge, and the blow of the sword hit the water, causing various splashes to fly all around. The main character decides to take advantage of this moment and gets down on one knee, thereby showing that he is not dangerous and pretending that he is very calm, and asks the beauty to listen to him because he wants to say something. Continuing to hold her sword straight at this guy, the girl already wants to finish this idiot off, but before that, she decides to wait and see what he wants to tell her. This smug fool decides to describe her buns by saying that they were very soft and flexible, and the only flaw was that they were a little small and could have been bigger. Lin Tian's words infuriated Xuan Kong. Although she listened to him completely, she forgot about all the good things he said and remembers only the bad. Apparently, she is going to do something bad to him. The pink-haired girl, full of rage, having raised her sword, is already accelerating towards the guy, intending to deal with him once and for all. But this is exactly what he needs. This gamer died in this game for the first time, thereby completing the task of the system for which it awarded him, plus 100 experience and plus thousands of coins. He still doubts that this is all for real. Suddenly he turns his attention to something, and apparently it is Xuan Kong who is about to finish him off again, but of course he is not going to tolerate this and will do something now. While the enraged pink-haired girl runs towards the brown-haired man, he in turn stands still and is about to attract the attention of some boss, asking him for help in saving him from Xuan Kong. Hearing Lin Tian's words, the girl, of course, could not help but turn her attention behind her back because a potential threat could be hiding there, and the guy, taking advantage of the moment, simply disappeared from her sight. We see how the cunning Lin Tian fooled Xuan Kong and already managed to run far away from her, which she is not happy about and shouts various insults at him, still not understanding how they could fool her like that. Having run a long distance, the brown-haired man was very tired and stopped to rest. At that moment, he decides to check what's going on with the system and already opens the blue interface in front of him. The guy, having checked the system, notices his statistics, after which he closes it and begins to jump with happiness, remembering that this is all a game and he will spend the rest of his life here. Suddenly, his joy is interrupted by some sounds coming from some people. He begins to eavesdrop warily and hears some bad guys trying to catch some girl, and she screams and runs away from them. Lin Tian raises his head and notices how someone is trying to jump over the wall that is behind him. He is very angry because of this and does not understand what the hell is happening here. Our Sigma notices the already familiar pink women's clothes that are about to fall on him right now. His anger gave way to delight because he really likes the way she looks. But then suddenly screaming, a white-haired girl falls on him and knocks the guy off his feet. She, sitting right on him, looks into his eyes and asks for forgiveness for this, and the guy is still silent, trying to come to his senses. This waifu continues to look into the eyes of our main character and notices someone familiar in him, namely a certain young gentleman. Surprised that he is now alive, the white-haired woman hugs him tightly. While the beauty hugs Lin Tian, he cannot understand who she is and remembers the moments when he played League of Legends with friends all day long and already wants to leave this virtual reality. During these hugs, the system notifies Lin Tian about the launch of some storyline within the game, asking the guy to get a memory and ask himself whether he wants to integrate. The brown-haired man, in turn, thought about this thing. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by two bad guys who are climbing over the same wall as the girl. Noticing the main character, they also recognize him and cannot believe that this loser is still alive. The brown-haired man, turning around in time, notices these freaks and understands that they came here with bad intentions because they took out their sabers and jumped right on him, intending to end his life. The bad guys, confident that they will catch up with these guys, decide to chase them, and our Lin Tian, like a real superhero from Marvel, took the poor girl in his hands and tries to save her, but a rat gets in their way. Next, we see how the main character, being busy trying to escape people who are trying to harm them, does not notice this rat and steps on it, from which the system gave experience and offered to learn a technique called a brutal blow. In the next chapter, we see how Lin Tian, continuing to run away from the bandits, notices an alert from the system and is surprised at the technique that the system offered for killing a rat. He realizes that being the main character of a video game is amazing. Then Lin Tian stops and apparently begins to acquire his new strength. He feels his body becoming stronger and realizes that now he can kick the ass of armed guys. After gaining strength, he began to look much more serious and, continuing to hold the girl in his arms, he turns towards his offenders and runs straight at them at full speed. Having run up, the main character rammed two guys at high speed, causing them to scatter in different directions and have already lost their weapons, and the main character stops after delivering the blow. Next, the Chinese GPT chat tells Lin Tian that he gains experience for killing two criminals and congratulates him on raising the current level of martial art to level 3 and invites the guy to look into his memories. The white-haired girl, being in the hands of the main character, is very happy that he was able to fight off the bad guys and calls him amazing. The brown-haired guy himself was very happy at the good words said to him. And of course, after hearing this embarrassed idiot realizes that the girl knows him well, and he doesn't want to miss such a good chance, because he wants to get this beauty for himself, and is already making plans for her. Then apparently, the main character decides to look into his memories and is horrified to discover that the Lin family was destroyed in the past. Seeing this, he becomes curious about what happened next. Looking deeper into the memory, he finds out that Lin Tian, that is, he was killed by being thrown from a cliff by some bad person. This scene does not look the most pleasant for him. Then he sees that same white-haired beauty, whose name turns out to be Yun Er, and right now she is smiling, looking somewhere while holding a tray with some kind of drink in her hands. After the curious guy has studied his past, the system gives him the main quest of this game, namely to reveal the secret of the destruction of the Lin family. The brown-haired man understands that he will have to complete this task. In the next scene, you can see how Lin Tian continues to hold Yun-er in his hands, and she turns to him and asks him to eat. Because she hasn't eaten for 2 days, the guy understands that this is his chance to do something good. Finally, he let her go to the ground and, pleased, says that he cannot leave his girlfriend hungry and is going to take her to eat. From the face of this waifu, you can see how very happy she is to hear this. They set off joyfully, and the girl is embarrassed that the main character called her his girlfriend. From the guy's satisfied face, one can understand that he is very glad that all his mewing activities were not in vain, and he finally has a girlfriend. But suddenly their calm is interrupted by a flock of wild animals. At first glance, it is difficult to determine what it is, but it is clear that they are very aggressive and Lin Tian is going to fight with them. The system, taking advantage of the moment, gives the guy a side quest. He must blow up some X-flowers when he kills a wild beast and must do this 5 times. The brown-haired man looks unhappy because of this. While the main character was whining at the system, one of the green animals with long, sharp claws managed to get closer and is already about to strike, while the guy is trying to dodge. Lin Tian decides to run from the bloodthirsty beast, trying to exhaust him, and is already thinking about a plan for further action, because he is a little scared now. Next, we see how this Sigma is tired of running from this kitten, and realizing that he has nothing to lose, he straightens his index finger and is about to strike his insidious blow. Having confused this beast with his friend from Valorant, Lin Tian quickly bypasses it and sucks his fingers into places where he definitely shouldn't do this, and the beast, in turn, does not look very happy with this event. Surprisingly, in this way he managed to finish off this first-level demon predator, for which he gained experience. The self-confident brown-haired man, holding his fingers at the ready, looks at the other animals from the pack and is going to do the same to them. He begins to run after another large predator, and he tries to run away in tears, seeing what happened to his comrade and does not want to repeat his fate. It seems that the main character is almost catching up with him. As a result, he got rid of all the danger, for which he received a lot of experience from the system, and it raised his level of combat student to the 4th. And the girl asks about his technique, and he says that this technique is called a trick. Next, we see how a defeated beast lies in front of our characters, and Lin Tian, remembering that the girl is hungry, understands that they can eat this beast, and the girl considers this guy very smart. It can be seen how the soul of the killed predator is watching all this from the side. He heard their words and sees what they are going to do with his body, which makes him very angry and does not look the most happy. Events are transferred to some lively place, where Lin Tian came with Yun-er and saw too many people here, which made the guy slightly surprised and continues to look at them. They walk around these neighborhoods and look around trying to explore this place. Next to them, there is a cart with a horse and a bunch of beautiful buildings, and it's already dark outside, so they need to spend the night somewhere. The system lets him know about the active mission, namely to enter this courtyard, and tells him to take Yun-er with him to the brothel for the night. The guy understands that taking a beautiful woman for the night is beyond the power of ordinary people. But our main character understands that he is far from an ordinary person, and grabbing the surprised girl around the waist, he is going to take her to the place mentioned earlier by the system, because he wants to complete her task. A woman from this brothel approaches them and, turning to this couple, says that this is not a hotel at all and they have few places. If the guy still stays here, he will have to order a girl. The smug Lin Tian interrupts the woman and says that he is going to order as many as 10 girls, handing her a bag with a whole bunch of money. Even the white-haired one is surprised at this amount. The surrounding people heard the main character announce his intentions a couple of seconds ago. At first, they didn't really believe his words, but later one of the old men made it clear that he was very impressed with the younger generation. Some young guy from the crowd is tired of being constantly humiliated at school and tells Lin Tian that he is ready to pay him as much as 100 taels of silver to become his student because he wants to learn Kung Fu. Just about to enter the building, the main character draws attention to this schoolboy and only advises him to simply read more books, overeat less, and sleep more, because this is very useful. The woman, picking up the bag of money that Lin Tian offered her, continues to look greedily at this money and asks the main character to enter this brothel with his girlfriend. Events are transferred to one of the rooms of the brothel. Lin Tian is already sitting on the bed with Yun Er, and 10 girls of easy virtue stand in front of them. The guy asks to wait for them, because he is not going to do what they think. The girls became very interested in what this rich guy wants, and approaching directly to him, the pink-haired one asks what exactly he wants then. The guy gestures for them to stop because he came here with other intentions, and says that although they may not believe him, he came here precisely to have fun with them. The cute girls felt very funny about this. They tell him that all the guys come here to have fun and are about to start doing their work, but they still don't know what the guy really means. We see that Lin Tian looks very unhappy that girls cannot understand him and believes that it is very difficult to communicate with people. Apparently, he will have to tell them directly what he wants. Standing on his feet in front of a crowd of beautiful girls, he tells them that now they will all do something more exciting than their usual boring work and asks them to stretch their arms forward in joy. He explains to them the rules of the game and tells them to try to hit each other's palms by raising them up like this. If a person gets hit, he loses and gets punished by drinking. Meanwhile, 2 guys are standing outside the doors of this room and hear all these slaps, thinking that Lin Tian is playing naughty with these girls. They are very jealous of him and think that being young is great and want to be in his place right now. Next, we see how all the girls play this game. Having understood all the rules, it is clear from them that they are happy. And speaking to Lin Tian, they say that he offered them a very incredible and interesting activity. Yuner noticed how all the girls in the room were having a lot of fun, and being interested, asked the main character what she should do right now, and at that moment he thought and told her to just have fun with the others. Next, the system gave another task, where the guy must enter and inspect another room, and the higher the result, the higher the reward. Lin Tian is no longer surprised by strange tasks from the system. He just hopes that the reward for completing it will not be death. Under the pretext that he needs to go to the toilet, our Sigma leaves his room. While all the girls are having fun, he is going to go right now and complete the task given by the system. That is, check one of the rooms. While Lin Tian is wandering along the corridor of the brothel, he hears sounds coming from some room. Apparently people are going to drink to some Li, and this Li promises to reward everyone. This voice seems familiar to the main character. Suddenly he experienced real horror, the same as after watching the movie Saw 4. Apparently he recognized this voice and understood who this bad person was and thought what could be done. The main character realized from the voice that this was the guy from his memories named Li Shuai, who finished off the previous Lin Tian and threw him off the cliff. The evil brown-haired guy was already going to kick the door down and go take revenge on him. But he remembered in time that he was only a 4th-level combat master, or a 6th-level Shuai, so revenge could wait for now, but for now he needed to look around to complete the task from the system. Entering the room that Lin Tian was supposed to inspect, he sees 2 handsome men showing what a real strong male friendship should look like. Our main character, seeing this scene, does not understand where he has ended up. These hot men are distracted from their affairs because they see a stranger who entered their room in the midst of events. Both of them are not at all angry with the young guy, but only look at him with their loving glances. Lin Tian was already shocked by this whole scene, and he understands that this work is clearly not for him, and is about to leave this room with a quick step before he himself gets caught. But it's clear how the bearded jock is not going to let this handsome guy go so easily and jumps right on him. Lin Tian tries to tell him that he doesn't do these things, but it's too late. Having jumped on the main character, this muscle man did not catch him. Out of fear, Lin Tian tries to run away screaming for help. While the man is trying to catch up with him, the brown-haired man understands that if he is caught, he will have a hard time. The brown-haired man sees a woman whom he recently paid and hides right behind her, asking the man in love not to approach him. Apparently, he sees in this beautiful woman his chance of salvation from him. The main character, remembering that this woman is ready to do anything for money, asks her to get this guy out of here. While handing her the already familiar bag of money, she in turn looks interested and is ready to fulfill his request. Next, we see how the guards take away this bald jock. The woman who was given a bag of money begins to rub it on her face, and Lin Tian exhales with calmness because he is now safe and will not lose his innocence. The system notified him that he had completed her task and rewarded him with experience with coins, giving him a score of 10 out of 10, also promoting him to a 5th-level martial master. And at this time, Lin Tian looked tired. In the next scene, the main character, being very tired after all this running around, decides to go and lie down to sleep on one of the beds, while the people in the building are going about their business. Events are transferred to the street, where it is already clear that day has come and one can understand that Lin Tian slept until the morning. The main character, going out into the street with Yun notices how for completing various tasks, the system gave him 2,000 coins and 400 experience, and raised him right up to the 7th level of martial art. He looks very pleased with this news. The white-haired girl looks very pleased that the main character has finally returned to her, and he asks her not to worry because he left her for only a short time. Meanwhile, some man in gray clothes is knocking on a gold plate with a hammer, making loud sounds and attracting the attention of the crowd. He wants to notify everyone that there will be a wedding of the Li family. Next, the crowd sees Li Shuai riding a brown horse. He himself is dressed in a red uniform, and the crowd is perplexed that he is getting married today, because they did not expect this now. They understand that since the Lin family was destroyed, the Li family has become dominant in Chuye City, but at the same time the Yang family still remains, so the Li family cannot yet be the main one, and now the villain is marrying Yang Shui. Hearing the words of the crowd, the dissatisfied brown-haired man remembers that this Yang Shui was first the bride of the character he plays for, namely Lin Tian, and now she is an enemy of the Lin family. The Chinese ChatGPT launches a mission called a wedding party. Now the guy needs to create problems at the wedding. At this time, the white-haired woman tells Lin Tian that his bride cheated on him, and he says that now he will solve everything. Next, he decides to attack directly at the groom, knocking him off his horse, from which the horse himself is in shock. The brown-haired man tells Li Shuai that he must pay for his actions, and the crowd apparently likes this spectacle. A dissatisfied guy in red clothes does not understand what the main character wants from him and tries to find out from him about this. He looks very irritated because he just wanted to play his wedding calmly. Meanwhile, the crowd is watching all these events. They seem not at all embarrassed by what is happening, but are just watching calmly and wondering what will happen next, as if they were in the theater. Then suddenly we see a red-haired girl named Yang Shui. She is the bride at this wedding, and hearing all this noise, she moves the curtain to see what is going on there, and is surprised to find Lin Tian there. In the next chapter, we see how the girl in the red uniform continues to sit in her place, pushing aside the curtain. She, shocked, continues to look at Lin Tian and thinks about what to say to him. The main character, dissatisfied with the actions of this girl, simply looks at her with his serious face and tells her that her beauty is of no use, and she just blindly chose his enemy to marry. The guy wondered why she was marrying someone else because her real fiancé had not yet died. At this time, was there a Shuai lying nearby who was simply listening to all this and was going to take action? Her surprised face changed to something angry. She lets the guy know that half a meter of grass has already grown on the grave of the Lin family, and he still dares to tell her something about marriage. Apparently, she considers herself inviolable. Then suddenly Yuner enters the dialogue. She looks very angry and shouts at Yang Shui, believing that a woman with such breasts is not good enough to date Lin Tian. The brown-haired man is very surprised. Seeing this scene, the guy was surprised at what the white-haired girl was doing now, because she is usually a kind girl, and apparently when she gets angry, she becomes a real tigress. Fortunately for him, she is on his side. Li Shui continues to lie on the ground. Apparently he is afraid to get up, thinking that he will get his ass kicked. He turns to the main character, trying to clarify whether he is actually Lin Tian, thinking that he must be dead. The smug boy confirms this and adds that he is Yang Shui's ex-fiancé, and then, deciding to intimidate the guy in red clothes, says that he has enough strength to finish him off. Li Shui is already tired of this proud guy, and doesn't care if he is a ghost or the son of the Lin family who has risen from the dead. He is going to send him back, ordering his chained dogs to finish him off. The subordinate of this bad guy has already armed himself with his swords and is about to attack Lin Tian. The main character notices how they are approaching him and remains calm because he is sure that he will defeat them. Suddenly, this genius allows these guys to get closer to him. Unexpectedly for them, he suddenly turns around and uses one of his abilities, namely a charged furious blow, from which they flew in different directions. After his actions, he stops and turns his attention to how Yuner is arguing with Yang Shui. They both look very angry and attract the attention of the entire court with their screams. Further, Li Shuai, apparently thinking that his bride is losing the argument, grabs the white-haired one and tells Lin Tian that he is too smug and there is no way he can defeat him if he was lucky enough to survive in the past. Lin Tian is very dissatisfied with the actions of the groom. He advises him to let Yun go, otherwise he will regret that he was born. At this moment, the brown-haired man looks at the villain with his fist clenched. The guy in red slightly shit his pants, hearing his threats and hiding behind his servants. He tells Lin Tian that in 3 days he wants to fight him in a duel. If the brown-haired guy doesn't come, he will send the girl to the concubine's courtyard. The boy realized that now there are many masters in the family, and at the moment with his skills he cannot do anything to them, and he should somehow become stronger in 3 days. Then he decides to run away from this place. He completed the wedding planner task, for which he received a promotion to a 9th-level martial artist. He believes that the system is counting on his death and is going to go somewhere on the map that was given to him. Events are transferred to a new place where, apparently, Lin Tian arrived using the map that he was given earlier. He is going to find something useful here. Our Sigma entered a very crowded place, and apparently members of the Han family live in this place, seeing a man in orange selling watermelons. He understands that this family is very good in the field of business. A couple of moments later, 3 serious guys approach the brown-haired man. They are armed, and one of them, apparently the leader, sees that Lin Tian is here for the first time and invites him to go on a trip with him. Seeing this and paying attention to them, Lin Tian looks at them with a questioning face and thinks that they consider him a complete fool and does not seem to be going anywhere with these suspicious guys. Again, the system gives one more task to our guy. He will have to pretend to be a weakling and join their team, then try to find an opportunity to defeat their leader. The brown-haired guy simply exhales and is going to complete this task. Next, the main character pretends that he is very happy that he has finally found a team for himself, calling the leader a good person. But it is clear that he is doing this for his own personal purposes. These 3 dangerous guys, and especially the leader with a large scar on his eye, look very happy, and apparently they have some plans for this guy, but they don't yet know what awaits them next. They all came together to a cave in which there is a lot of treasure, but these same treasures are guarded by a demonic beast. They want Lin Tian to distract him while they try to get them. The main character listened to the words of this fool and looks at him with the understanding that he wants to send him to the next world and considers this kid an idiot, and apparently he does not want to do this. But suddenly she gave a side mission, namely to lure the beast and blow up his X-flowers. The guy got very angry after that because he considers this very unserious, and the system, just like them, considers him an idiot. Pretending that he is too kind and naive, Lin Tian agrees to the leader's proposal and asks him not to worry, because he can distract the beast and is already going to go and do it. Our Giga Chad begins to slowly approach the huge sleeping black beast to deal with it, and at this moment, the leader tells one of his servants, namely Murong, to go along with Lin Tian. Murong quickly catches up with our brown-haired man and grabs his hand because he doesn't understand what the brown-haired man is going to do, approaching him so calmly, and the main character is surprised by his arrival because it seems like he should have dealt with this alone. Our boy, of course, has everything under control. He says that he is not going to play with this monster. He is going to kick this weakling's ass. The orange-haired man is surprised by these words. After a couple of moments, the main character's face becomes just like that of a maniac. He takes out a long stick at the end of which there is a bloody tip, and he is already going to strike this monster. Having come close enough to the monster, he swings his arms and lands a strong blow on it from a jump, and tells the beast that the system is to blame for everything because of its tasks, and he himself has nothing to do with it. It can be seen that the demonic beast did not expect such a fatal blow, because at that moment he was sleeping and is now growling in pain, and the Chinese ChatGPT rewards the guy for completing the task of killing the boss of the wild. Lin Tian had the opportunity to obtain Luo Yun's palm technique. He also promoted to a first-level warrior, making a breakthrough, after which he also unlocked the system store. The guy was very glad that he was able to complete such a difficult task. The boy understands that he can now save Yuner, and having opened a new store, he thinks that he is bugged because at any time he can buy all kinds of elixirs, weapons, and equipment, and this is very cool. Next, Lin Tian turns towards Murong and sees how he is in deep shock, because the guy who seemed to be supposed to be bait was able to kill the beast, and the main character only offers him to divide the treasures. When they started to go after the treasure, their path was blocked by 2 armed bad guys from the Murong gang, who are going to finish off the orange-haired one, despite the fact that he has an assistant and are already planning to attack. One of the bandits is already running towards our characters and is going to kill them both, promising after that to feed them to the demonic beast. This idiot doesn't even know that this monster has just died. But Lin Tian is tired of listening to these weaklings, and without particularly showing any emotions, he uses his brutal encounter and deals with the bandits, not understanding how these non-entities can say such things with such a serious face. For the kills and completed tasks, the system rewarded the guy with experience with coins, and the Murong thanks him for saving his life, and the brown-haired guy offers to go find the treasures and share them. The orange-haired man is very surprised that such a strong and respected person as Ling Tian wants to share with him. But the main character does not understand what is happening to him and already thinks that he does not want the treasure. The brown-haired man already decides to go forward without him for these treasures, and Murong, after standing and thinking, realizes that he still needs these treasures and begins to run after the main character in the hope that he will share. After wandering together for a while, these two stumble upon one of the treasures. They realize that it is flying fish algae. Lin Tian, opening the system interface, is going to read the information about this plant. The system reports that this is one of the treasures of heaven and earth. It can increase internal strength and improve cultivation after consumption, and it costs 1,000 gold. But it cannot be used in water. The guy understands that he is lucky. Then suddenly, for this loser, the system decides to troll him and gives him a side task of making tea, namely putting the flying fish grass into the water and drinking it. Lin Tian looks very unwilling and angry because of this. He, already very tired from all these jokes of the system, slowly turns to Murong and calmly asks him for a bowl of water to complete this damn task, even though he doesn't want it. Of course, the orange-haired man gives him this cup, but at the same time asks why he needs it, realizing that the brown-haired man is up to something, and the main character says that he wants to drink tea from this algae. Orange-haired became dissatisfied because of this, because they can't put it in the water and they will simply lose it. Lin Tian pretends that everything is under control and tells him that he just likes to do strange things. Next, he throws this precious treasure directly into the bowl of water, from which it begins to dissolve and is about to drink it no matter what. For brewing tea, the system rewards the brown-haired man with experience with coins and promotion to the 3rd level of warrior, while the guy drinks this mixture and understands how stupid it looks from the outside. After he finished this mixture, the system promoted him to the 4th level of warrior. He joyfully cannot believe that he still gained experience. He wants to buy a new water tank to drink from, and Murong is shocked by his actions. Lin Tian returns this bowl to its owner and says that everything is in order, and he will have time to get used to all these oddities and asks where he is going. The orange-haired man says that he has been away from home for a very long time and wants to return. After listening to the Murong in full, the main character tells him that he has already achieved his goal and invites him to go home together and take a walk at the same time. Suddenly, Lin Tian's attention is attracted by something behind him. He turns around and thinks what it could be, and the orange-haired one just looks at him at that moment, not understanding what is happening. Lin Tian made a dissatisfied face, because he feels that the system will soon again send him on a deadly mission, where this time some monsters will definitely be able to eat him alive. At the beginning of the next chapter, Murong notices in the distance how some robbers got to the bottom of some person and tells Lin Tian about this, and he in turn says that he is not going to save everyone. The orange-haired man begins to smile at him and, pleased, says that when the main character sees something unfair, he must immediately help, because he has very high strength. And just in time, the system gives another task to the guy, namely to defeat the robbers and save the victim. Tired and dissatisfied, Lin Tian understands that he will still have to go and help that person. Arriving at this place, our heroes see how 3 armed bandits beat another Discord moderator and mock him. The orange-haired one understands that he really needs help, and they need to act. Lin Tian attracts the attention of the bad guys and urges them to listen to the call of conscience. Murong suggests that the main character first save that fat man, and why start lecturing them? The brown-haired man listened to his new friend and realized that he needed to act. Unexpectedly for his enemies, they use their ability and fly right into them, thereby finishing them off. Murong considers the guy cruel, but at the same time cool. The system has already managed to reward him with experience for defeating 3 bandits, and Lin Tian stands next to the defeated enemies and, contentedly straightening his hair, believes that being a good hero is very simple. The Chinese chat GPT again decides to troll the main character and gives him a task where he must perform artificial respiration for General Khan. Lin Tian, seeing who is lying in front of him, understands that right now it will be very unpleasant. He simply loses his temper over such a task and, turning to the system, says that it should just give the task to kiss the pig. Why bother with such trifles? The system apparently finds it funny and says that it will do exactly that next time. Meanwhile, the orange-haired man has already examined the body of this fat man and tells Lin Tian that this man is lying unconscious, not understanding what to do, but our main character can help him. Lin Tian had already come to terms with the fact that he would have to perform artificial respiration. He must sacrifice his first kiss for the sake of the task, otherwise he risked losing some of his intelligence. Approaching the Khan, the main character already tells Murong about his intentions to give him artificial respiration. He is at a loss and does not understand why he should do this. because there is no need to despair so much. Lin Tian can no longer hold back his tears, and before completing his task, he turns to Murong and says that he really loves doing artificial respiration and thereby saving people. The main character understands that there is no need to waste time and immediately begins artificial respiration. You can see from his face that he really didn't want to do this, but he had to because of the system. Then General Han suddenly woke up. It is clear that Lin Tian's help had a good effect on this big boy, and he still managed to save his life. The man who woke up sees the main character kissing him, and his savior noticed how he woke up, after which a spark broke out between these two, and they established loving visual contact with each other. The look of the big guy frightened our brown-haired man, from which he jumps back with screams and begins to vomit sharply, and for completing the task he was promoted to a 5th-level warrior and also received other awards. Khan, about to get up from the floor, says that one moment of love with him is worth thousands of gold, and the main character ruined him. From these words, he causes even more disgust in these two, and Lin Tian promises to kick his ass for this. Murong introduces the fat man to Lin Tian, saying that he saved his life. The Khan has come to terms with this and says that since this is already the case, he will turn a blind eye to his dishonest actions, and the brown-haired man does not understand how he can communicate with his savior like that. General Khan begins to squirm because of the feelings that he began to show towards his savior. He says that he spared him this time only because he saved his life, but he will not be so kind again. Having completely finished his business, the evil protagonist gets to his feet and, with difficulty holding back a new stream of vomit, shows this man the middle finger, telling him to go to hell. The orange-haired guy starts making fun of Lin Tian and says that the first kiss usually brings people very close, so now the two are friends, and the very angry main character asks him to shut up. Han believes that Murong is right, and from now on they have become friends, so he wants to treat them to lunch in the city of Han. The orange-haired man asks him to leave it for another time, because now he needs to go to the city of Qingcheng. Lin Tian must also leave. The man in orange really didn't like the fact that Lin wants to leave right now, and asks him not to do this because today there will be an auction in the Han city and he invites him to come and look at it. The system, out of spite, gives the main character a new quest, where he must go to the auction and stay at it until the end. He is very unhappy about this and, hitting himself on the head with his hand, says that he must save Yun Er. Then the events are transferred to the auction itself. The guy realizes that he simply had no choice, so he will have to sit here, and the happy fat man is eating another spicy chicken with CFS right now. The host welcomes everyone and wants to say a few words about this auction house. He talks about an Earth-class inner pill with a starting price of 20,000 coins. The brown-haired man considers this a big price. Some old man with a long beard is ready to pay 21,000 for this pill. Some present are very surprised by this amount, while others think that there is nothing surprising in this, because this grandfather is one of the best alchemists in the empire. The smug Lin Tian doesn't care at all how good the alchemist is. He can still buy whatever he wants here, because he has completed a large number of different tasks from the system and managed to earn money. The system gave another quest, namely to buy this very pill. Of course, he cannot ignore this and makes his stack, namely 22,000, which makes people surprised. The guy believes that he can still buy this pill. The old alchemist is very annoyed by the fact that he has a competitor right now, and already being more serious, he makes a bet of 23,000, hoping to still buy this pill. General Khan is surprised that Lin Tian is even fighting for this item, and considers him stupid. Because he is not even an alchemist, the brown-haired man was angry with this man, and he called him stupid in response, after which he made a bet of 30,000. The old man approaches the young guy and asks why he is competing for this thing, because he is not even an alchemist. The happy guy says that he is too rich and can't do anything about it. He smiles in the face of the elderly alchemist and, to his great surprise, says that he still knows how to make pills. The old man sees that this Lin Tian is very serious, and since he also knows how to make pills, why don't they organize a competition for the best quality pill? Apparently the alchemist is confident that he can win. The system, taking advantage of the moment, gives a new quest to the main character, where he must take part in a competition with the pill master. Standing in front of his grandfather, he invites him to start his turn first. Lin Tian is already completely confident in his victory, because he has a system trading center for exchange, and no matter how good this alchemist is, the kid will be able to surpass him in any case. The elderly alchemist begins to use his skills and various natural resources. With the help of them, he is going to create a very high-quality pill, thereby hoping to beat the young guy. He created a top-grade pill. The people present understand that the pill master is really something. They already think that the main character will lose to him because he doesn't even know how to make these pills. As a result, Lin Tian simply opens a system shopping center, where he has several different pills to choose from. from which he apparently takes the best one and stands happy in front of everyone. The crowd looks at him in shock and is perplexed as to how he made a pill out of thin air and how he even knows how to make pills. They are already starting to think that this child is even stronger than the elder. Lin Tian gives this pill to the elder, who examines it and is surprised to find that it is a top-class pill and simply cannot believe that he just lost to this kid. The alchemist begins to believe that he is not good enough, and upset, kneels in front of Lin Tian and asks to become his student because he wants to create pills just like him. At the beginning of the next chapter, we see how the elder continues to kneel and beg to become the main character's student. He really hopes that he will be accepted and he will be able to improve his skills. The system has already notified the boy about the completion of the task and given rewards, and he is now a 6th-level warrior. And at this moment, the young guy, pleased with his victory, asks his grandfather to get up from the floor. Lin Tian makes it clear to the alchemist that this year he is not recruiting students, but is ready to accept him next year. The old man heard this, and getting up from the floor, was very happy and began to look at the guy with a strange look. The boy noticed the look of this gray-haired man. His behavior also seemed very strange to him. He was tired of it and asked him to stop behaving this way. The main character is offered to give the elixir of the entrails of a demonic beast directly from the auction house. These conditions suit him. He agreed that he would take it, but only on the condition that he pays for it. The brown-haired man bought a pill, thereby completing the task of the system, and the elderly master continues to admire him, calling the guy a professional, but the guy is tired of it all and asks him to stop worshipping him and do what he should. Next, the presenter announces another item in today's auction, namely an unidentified two-handed sword with a starting price of 1,000 coins. The crowd paid attention, and they are already wondering who will make the first bid. And of course, the system itself could not ignore this. It gave another side task to its owner where he must place a bet on a two-handed sword for at least 20,000 coins. The guy is annoyed, because with that kind of money you can buy a whole cart of such swords. Our dissatisfied rich man bids 20,000 coins for this item, hoping that this auction will end quickly, and he will finally go to save Yunair, because she is in danger and he needs to hurry. With this bet, he completed the task of the system and at the same time received this sword. The elder asks the guy if he can distinguish a bad weapon from a bad one, and this fool says that he cannot and bought it to cut pies at home. The final boss of KFS, hearing this, understands exactly how the main character will use this sword, and taking advantage of the moment, decides to call him to his home, because he just has a pie, but our Sigma is in a hurry. The hot dog eating champion is left behind, because he understands that in the near future no one will be able to cut his pie for him. He only looks after the departing Lin Tian, who asks him not to follow him. The elder notices how the main character leaves the auction house and begins to run after him, asking him to wait. Lin Tian, noticing him, accelerated a little, and the alchemist, despite his old age, tries to catch up with him. Next, we see how the guy finally broke away from the old man. For completing tasks, he was promoted to a 7th-level warrior, and is glad that he escaped from the old man with difficulty, because for his age, he is very fast. The system, apparently deciding to troll the boy again, gave him a task where he must break this sword. Lin Tian did not understand the joke, because he had never even cut a pie for them, and the system already wants him to destroy it. Then, trying to break the sword, he discovered that it was a heavenly sword, a legendary weapon of the SR-class sword that rules the world. He realized that this was a valuable artifact, and now he could deal with the members of the Li family. The system gave a task where the guy must enter the family's house in less than an hour. Without wasting time, under the cover of darkness, he already climbs over a high, thick wall while no one is waiting for him. We are shown the doors to one of the rooms of this large building. From there, we can hear the voice of Li Shuai, who tells Yun that he does not hurt her, but she insults him. Apparently something bad is happening there. Events are transferred inside this room, where a white-haired girl lies tied up on the bed and a naked guy with a bun on his head stands next to him. He advises her to obey him and forget about Lin Tian forever. Suddenly he is more cheerfully interrupted by the main character, who kicked the door down and doesn't understand what this naked worm is allowing himself. The frightened Li Shuai looks at him and doesn't understand how he was able to get in here. It would seem that the white-haired girl had already lost all hope of salvation, but then Lin Tian appeared out of nowhere. She was very glad that he came, because he would definitely be able to kick this villain's ass and save her. The enraged protagonist runs up to his enemy and begins to inflict a series of serious blows on him. One blow falls for 7 line, the other blow for Yunair. At this time, the guy in shorts cannot do anything. Next, Lin Tian completely lost control of himself and decided to hit this guy very hard from his knee right on his balls, which made him simply go into shock and apparently already defeated by the main character. After defeating the enemy, Lin Tian began to hug his beauty after a long separation. The system rewarded him for saving him, and the defeated Li Shuai, lying on the floor, began to call for help. Members of the Li family begin to run into this room. They see Lin Tian and are very surprised by this. Also seeing their master behind the floor, they begin to worry about him and demand the main character to release him. Raising the beaten villain in his arms and at the same time continuing to hug the girl, he promises to finish him off if they don't call Da Feng. Apparently he wants to kick his ass too, to show who is the strongest. Suddenly, a bald man with a beard quickly runs up. He doesn't understand who created so much noise here and is going to start a gang fight because he won't tolerate such an attitude and is going to take action. Lin Tian notices him and understands that this is a key figure second only to the head of the Li family. He is a peak 8th rank martial artist, but apparently he is still weaker than the main character. The bald dude has already noticed who is to blame for all this commotion. Having insulted our main character, he understands that he is from the Lin family, and for the fact that he injured his younger brother from the Lin family, he wants to punish him. Well, of course, Lin Tian didn't like the self-confidence of this dude, and he suddenly attacked him using the hard collision ability because he thought that this man wanted to die, and the bald man himself was in shock. The main character inflicts a serious blow on him, and the man, having felt it on himself, has already begun to regret the words spoken earlier towards this gigachad. He can only endure the pain from the blow. Having fallen to the ground, the man broke the stone floor, and lying in this place, he looked at Lin Tian in fear, and did not understand how this was possible, because he did not expect this from an ordinary boy and no longer knows what to do. The evil protagonist is not going to spare his enemy, and simply slammed him into the wall, which also broke it, saying that this is the end of him. The bald dude apparently will not be able to survive such a strong blow. As a result, he killed a family member of the Li family, for which he received an update of the charged attack and rose to the level of Xuan 2. Lin Tian, standing near the villain's body, asks the ordinary servants to call Li Dafeng if they don't want to end up like him. Well, of course, these weaklings got scared and called Li Dafeng. The main character stands at the entrance to the building, and seeing him with the chained dog says that he didn't think that he would dare to stick his head out. And without any ceremony, Lin Tian decides to give him a good gift in view of the corpse of one of the family members of this villain. He throws it right at his feet, which makes the orange-haired man surprised. He thus completed the provocation quest, and having caught the body of his comrade, Li Dafeng begins to examine it together with another dude. He cannot understand how he could miss the main character when he killed the entire Lin family. This steroid addict goes into a rage and is about to try to kick Lin Tian's ass, thereby avenging all his fallen comrades. He is confident in his abilities and already wants to attack him. The brown-haired man on a quest must defeat the villain and find out the truth about the destruction of the Lin family. He says that he wants to celebrate his centenary with a smile on his face at the grave of the Li family, while flexing his fists. The main character, stretching his hand forward, heads straight towards his enemy, promising him that he will die. Despite the fact that he is the most powerful man in the city of Hatsuba, the villain is not going to die and delivers a blow that destroys the heavens. They both use different abilities, such as a powerful palm, wild charge, and so on, but as we can see, Lin Tian still defeats him, showing that he is the most important here. Standing directly on the defeated Li Dafeng, the guy tries to find out the truth, why he wanted to destroy the Lin family. The orange-haired man, lying on the ground, endures all the pain and insults the main character. The brown-haired man tells him that his breath stinks of shit, so let him answer quickly. He asks him for the last time why he wanted to destroy the Lin family, hoping that he will answer. Suddenly, a flying man appears behind the main character, who loudly shouts at him to stop doing this. Lin Tian tensed slightly and is about to turn around to see who it is. But turning around, this guy sees someone's hand right next to his face. A bright flash of yellow color also emanates from that person, which slightly blinds Lin Tian. I wonder who it could be. In the next chapter, Lin Tian continues to look at this mysterious hand behind him, trying to guess who it is behind him, but apparently he will still have to turn around and find out. Turning around, he is surprised to find a flying old man with thick facial hair. He looks at the young guy with a serious look, turns to him and says that he is not welcome in their city. The main character, continuing to look at the old man, understands that this is a master of martial arts. It seems that not only the family, but also the lord of the Hatsuba city is involved in the murder of the Lin family. He understands that there is some secret hidden behind this. The guy completed a task related to research. The system, as usual, rewarded him and raised him to a 10th level warrior, notifying him of an automatic update next time. The guy hopes to roll back this update a little. Taking a serious stance, he points his finger at the martial arts master and says that he did not expect that he would unite against the Lin family. Lin Tian tries to find out why they need this. The old man begins to prepare for their battle, and upon hearing a question from the boy, he says that the dead do not need to know anything, intending to hint that he will finish him off right now, and there will be no mercy. Yun'er is watching all this and is already worried about Lin Tian. He looks at her and notices this, but in his thoughts he thinks that it is not too late to take revenge. But if he fights now, he will die. The system decided to give a task where the guy had to fight with the ruler of the city. He, of course, didn't like it, but he still finds it difficult to provoke the master, saying that he is not going to spare him. The old stump already thought that the child was very scared and, pointing his fist directly at the main character, he accelerates towards him, intending to deliver a strong blow. He is sure that the guy will not leave him. Lin Tian listened to this crazy grandfather and, exhaling, realizes that he still has to accept this fight. He realizes that the system really wants him to die as soon as possible. The old master is already standing right in front of the main character, and he simply begins to provoke him by saying that the grandfather has too high an opinion of himself. He is too old to withstand a couple of his blows. He decides to push the martial artist with his 2 hands, but he didn't even move from his place and responded by hitting his strong fist right on the main character's face. He was surprised by the force of the blow. Lin Tian flies far away from this blow, and the master just looks at him and is about to go after him to finally finish him off. In flight, the guy learns from the system that he somehow completed its task and gained experience with coins. The system congratulates the beaten guy on his promotion to a first-level combat master and says that he is ready for an update. Asking if the guy wants an update right now, he gives his consent. The Chinese ChatGPT very slowly begins to update, and the beaten main character lying there understands that he will most likely die before this thing has time to update, and this grandfather is not wasting his time. The martial arts master, meanwhile, comes straight to the guy and says that the family needs Lin and asks to let him go to the other world directly to them, intending to finish him off. Grandfather has already come close enough, but a white-haired girl stands in front of him and the main character, who apparently is going to help Lin Tian because she cannot watch this beating. Turning to his Lin Tian, Yun'er says that he is going to detain him and he should run away. The guy is surprised by the action of this girl, but still continues to lie on the ground. The strongman only felt funny about this whole scene, calling these two a couple of lovebirds. He promised to do a good deed and send these two straight to hell together so that they would not miss each other. Suddenly, fortunately for these two, an elder alchemist appears who came to their aid and demands that the martial arts master let his master go, because he still has to learn something from him. Everyone is shocked by the presence of this man, especially the martial arts master, who turns in bewilderment and sees the medicine master. He does not understand how he can want to spare these two. The gray-haired alchemist is slowly starting to approach the main character to check his condition, and the old fighter behind him, just in case, decides to clarify who his master is. But the alchemist never answered the villain's question, but simply approached Lin Tian, who had already lost consciousness, and, addressing him as a teacher, gave him an orange pill to make him feel better. Having woken up from the pill, the brown-haired man thanks the gray-haired alchemist for his help, and the martial arts master, apparently, has already understood what is going on and who this very teacher is. Having heard an address from a young guy, the elder calling him a teacher does not understand what he is talking about, because he is a student of this guy, so this is exactly how he should address this grandfather. Lin Tian asks not to call him a teacher because he is only 18 years old, and this is not appropriate when an 80-year-old calls him a teacher. The cheerful alchemist says that he is actually 90, which makes the guy shocked. Continuing to rely on the old man, Lin Tian promises to pay him double the price for the pill that he gave him. The alchemist, addressing him as a teacher, says that this pill was provided by the auction house, not him. Hearing his grandfather's words, the brown-haired man was silent for a while and was surprised that he refused freebies in the form of money. He already believes that he took the wrong person as his student, waiting for the elder's reaction. But the smart man immediately drew his attention to the fact that the guy finally recognized him as his student, and he also said that he could not refuse his words, and as soon as he did not have time to complete the sentence, they interrupted him. The guy already knows everything and says that otherwise his bride will not be able to give birth to children. These words really scared the white-haired girl. Apparently she thinks that she can become the bride of the main character, and she is unpleasant to hear such words. The alchemist looks at the young guy with serious intentions and says that he cannot leave him in trouble and wants to help him expressing all his respect and affection for Lin Tian. Then the attention of all these people is attracted by some sounds behind them. When they turn around, they see a master of martial arts and a bunch of defeated lying enemies and are already planning to do something with them. Taking advantage of the moment, these two look at these weaklings with crazy eyes, and the alchemist invites the guy to interrogate one of them. Ling Tian has already chosen his victim and offers to start interrogating him. Approaching one of the bandits, the main character becomes disgusted, and the bandit, trying to get up from the ground, repeats several times that it is not his fault and that it is all the fault of the elder from the clan of the Immortal Gates of Darkness who ordered them to do this. Lin Tian listened to the words of this bad guy, and like a real Sherlock Holmes is going to start an investigation. He understands that this clan is the largest in the empire. But why did they do this to the Lin family? After thinking, the brown-haired guy grabbed this bearded guy by the scruff of the neck and with a serious face demands him to say who this old man is. The frightened guy says that he really doesn't know this, but only knows that he is very strong. Seeing that the bandit does not know the correct answer, the main character grabs his hand and threatens him that he will break it if he does not tell the whole truth. The bandit is already very scared. But Lin Tian in time begins to dissuade Lin Tian from these actions, saying that this is too cruel, because it is clear from him that he does not know the answer. He advises asking him about something else, since he does not know the answer. The alchemist decides to share the information that he obtained. He says that the elder of the clan of the Immortal Gates of Darkness has hemorrhoids on his ass. The main character, having heard this, cannot believe his words. For Lin Tian, this seems too strange, and leaving the bearded bandit alone, he turns to his friend and asks how he could even get this kind of information. The satisfied old man steps aside and points his finger at the beaten and naked martial arts master, saying that he told this. The guy believes that his way of negotiating is different from this grandfather. The young guy is at a loss because if he knows about hemorrhoids, then why doesn't he know the name of that person and what he looks like? The alchemist listened to him and is going to give his answer. The gray-haired man made a mysterious face and began to say that the elders were wearing masks when they came to convey the task, and one of them had an attack of exacerbation of hemorrhoids at that moment. The guy is very surprised because how something as tragic as the destruction of the Lin family could be connected with hemorrhoids in one of the elders. It all sounds very funny and stupid, and he cannot understand what is going on. Suddenly, someone unknown approaches our characters from behind and asks if Lin Tian is here. The guy and his grandfather pay attention to this person, but so far we don't know who he is. Already in the new chapter, we are shown who this person really is. This is some dude who came with good intentions to Lin Tian. He is so bald that he is already shining. This radiance directly blinds our two characters. They, wincing from this, try to hide from the light, and enduring this pain, try to find out from this person who he is and what he needs from them. It turns out that this guy from the auction house is double lucky, and he was sent here by the head to personally greet him. Meanwhile, the guy continues to shine and looks very harmless. Lin Tian thought about it. He must want to ask him to make pills for the auction house, but he understands that he must first let the system recover before doing anything. After thinking briefly, the main character agrees to go with this bald dude, but he wants to take Yun'er with him. She, of course, is not against this proposal, and the gray-haired alchemist is still silent. Lin Tian, together with the white-haired one, set off on their way, and the old man remained and waves after them. Saying goodbye and turning to his master, telling him to call him at any moment, the dissatisfied Lin Tian says that he is not a Pokemon to call him. Events are transferred to the auction house, and some old stump turns to Lin Tian saying that they would like him to make as many as 3 tablets a month for them, and the guy listens to their request. Suddenly opening the system interface, the main character again has a lot of different pills to choose from, and, apparently in unlimited quantities, he tells his grandfather that he has already made them, happily hands over the pills and asks for payment. In the meantime, the system has already been updated. The merging option and the decomposition option have become available. The guy also received 100,000 coins for the update. Considering all the new features of the system, the guy is very happy and is going to use it. The joyful old man takes the pills and cannot believe that he made them so quickly, and they are of such high quality. Even the head made an exception to meet him in person, and he asks the guy to take him to her. The system, it turns out, wants Lin Tian to show himself not at his best, and gives him a quest where he must ask the head to come to him in person. The main character smiles and understands that he must pretend to be a fool. He says that he won't go, because this fool is not one of those people who can be easily invited, and if their head wants to see him, then she can come to him herself. Even Yun'er was surprised at his arrogance. The old man was slightly worried and was already sweating, stuttering. He was about to say that most likely it would be impossible to arrange, But at that moment, someone seemed to interrupt him, and he did not have time to finish his sentence. A young, arrogant guy is already about to leave this place because he has already told everyone what he wants. But the moment he reaches the door and is about to leave, he hears someone's voice asking him not to rush. It turned out that this is the head of the auction house named Hongling Air. She introduces herself to the main character, and apparently, he has already changed his mind about leaving here and decides to talk to her. The guy, of course, completed the task of the system and received his experience with coins and also a bonus for pretending to be a fool. When he saw the girl, he seemed to fall in love with her at first sight because she is such a beauty. The head comes up to him and says that from now on, the guy can only spend money at the Double Luck auction house and get a 10% discount, going to shake his hand, and the guy is grateful to her. A satisfied Lin Tian says that he really enjoyed spending time with this beauty. Why don't they do this more often? Because it's very cool and very pleasant. Suddenly, their peace is interrupted by some kind of shaking in the building. The main character was very frightened and already thought that it was an earthquake, from which Yunair jumped into the arms, and she did not expect this at all. While he was hugging this white-haired girl, she noticed someone approaching them. She points her finger at him and tries to attract Lin Tian's attention so that he understands what all this shaking is about. Lin Tian pays attention to this and is horrified to discover that the hot dog-eating champion himself is running towards him, who has just won first place in the next tournament, and says that he missed the main character, wanting to kiss. Khan has already managed to puff out his lips and approach the young guy, and he jumps away from the girl's embrace and tries to run away, telling the fat man to get out of here because he doesn't know him. Yunair is apparently in shock. The white-haired woman stood and looked at this scene and asked Lin Tian if this man was his best friend, precisely the best friend who tries to kiss and waits for an answer from him. The guy felt disgusted, because after these words, memories of how he gave him artificial respiration came flooding back. He somehow restrained the new urge to vomit and told the white-haired girl that this was not so. Khan, meanwhile, approached Lin Tian even more and says that they found a treasure in one place. He wants to go there with him. But before that, he wants to kiss and asks this handsome man not to be shy. The system gave a task. The guy must go to the monument of the god of war, the Han general, to find treasures. The main character thinks that this NPC is bugged, because every time he meets, he has a quest. This fat man does not give up and still tries to kiss Lin Tian, but he, already irritated, pushes him away and only asks him to tell him where these very treasures are, hoping to receive an answer without a kiss. This push from the guy did not convince the man. He still tries to kiss him by grabbing his hands, getting ready to start kissing before going on a hike. The girls behind are watching this and just laughing. The main character sees that this seducer does not hear his requests, so he shows him his huge fist and says that if he does not stop his actions, the guy will turn his face into mincemeat. The man was scared. You can see how scared he was and didn't really want to get hit in the face with his fist, so he stood in an army stance and decided to report to Lin Tian that this is on the outskirts of the battlefield of the gods, so they need to go there. But apparently he doesn't know the exact place, but the two of them are already getting ready to set off, and Lin Tian asks the white-haired one to wait for him at the auction house, because he will be back soon. The satisfied girl listened to the guy, and looking after the departing guys begins to rejoice for the main character, considering him amazing because he has so many good friends like this Khan. Then the events move to some forest. We see the steps along which our treasure hunters silently descend. The fat man eats another chicken leg, and the brown-haired man hopes that this will all end soon. They decided to take a break and lit a fire and then sat down to rest, while the fat man continued to sit and eat his next meal, and the main character was going to ask him something. He looks at how this man is constantly chewing something in his mouth and decides to ask how much food he took with him and is already beginning to think that his stomach is a bottomless hole and he is insatiable. Before he has time to chew his food, this satisfied handsome guy begins to tell Lin Tian not to worry because they have enough food for a whole year. He will let him stay hungry and will definitely share. While they were sitting calmly by the fire, the Khan continued to eat and the main character sat dissatisfied. But the plump one was noticed by someone in the distance and attracted the guy's attention, asking him to look there. The brown-haired man turned his attention to the direction indicated by the Khan, and apparently he saw something dangerous because he put his hand to his friend's mouth, asking him not to make noise and not to stick his head out. But this man doesn't care about Lin Tian's words. He just decided to shout that the main character is very smart and how much he admires him. Of course, the brown-haired man didn't like it. It can be seen that they caused some kind of commotion with each other. It seems that Lin Tian is trying to explain to this man that he really should be quieter, otherwise something bad might happen. It seems that the Khan has already managed to understand everything, and hiding behind the back of the main character is almost crying out of fear. Lin Tian says that the brain is a good thing, but it's a pity that this fool doesn't have one. Then they both poke out from behind the bushes and see a gang of armed and serious-minded bandits. Apparently, they are already going to think about a plan of action, because they must somehow get these treasures. Khan was very frightened and says that he doesn't like it here at all, and asks the brown-haired man to leave here with him. But this green-eyed guy is not one of the timid ones, and says that they must get treasures, so they will go forward. The fat genius begins to offer to come here some other time, thinking that then it will be safer. But now he is afraid to attack them, because he does not even know how to fight and will not be able to fight back. Lin Tian already thinks that to hell with him, because he is going to act. He heard the man's offer to come next time, but he understands that next time there may not be any treasures here at all. He makes it clear to his friend that he is very angry now, and if he does not want to go with him, then let him stay and go after the treasure alone, hoping that at any moment his system will help him. Already in the next chapter, we see Lin Tian, who uses his various strong techniques and abilities, thereby defeating all his enemies. For him, it was very easy, and he is already going to take the treasures. This whole performance was watched by the Khan, who continues to admire his friend, calling him amazing. Next, we see how Lin Tian reached some very high cliff, and looking into it is convinced that it is really very high here, and if he jumps, he will come to a quick end. But this Giga Chad had a wonderful idea. He tied a thick rope around himself and secured it around the trunk of a large tree. Apparently, he wants to slowly descend there along the rope. Then, without any fear at all, being tied with a rope, he jumps straight into this deep hole with a smile on his face. Just like some madman, he is sure that it will help him not to crash. He lands calmly at the bottom of this pit without any injuries, but his attention is attracted by some bearded old man who says that he did not think that there would be anyone who could go down here. After landing, he quickly takes off the rope and, turning his attention to this old man, he thought that he would have to fight and took a fighting stance, asking him the question of who he really is. The old man introduced himself and said that his name is Dao Xuan, and he is the elder of the Yihai sect, and is trying to find out who our main character is and what he wants here. But the guy is in no hurry to answer the question. He understands that the cities of Qingzhou and Wudu are separated by 100,000 miles, and this elder has come here a very long way, and is most likely planning something evil. The system gave the young guy a task in which he must provoke Dao Xuan and hit him in the face. The guy already hopes that this slap in the face will not cost his miserable life, and he will not regret it. He begins the task, arrogantly asking his grandfather who he thinks he is, and how this daredevil even dared to ask this young guy any questions, already about to hit him. One of the old men begins to consider the guy boastful, and the second does not understand what is happening at all. Lin Tian already thinks these two are quite funny, and does not understand why they are holding this huge block of stone. Approaching one of the old men with bad intentions, he sees that he is holding a block of stone, and most likely will not be able to give any resistance, and the old man does not understand what the young guy wants from him. Suddenly, for the grandfather, he receives a slap in the face from this child, of course. He did all this just for the sake of a task from the system, but the old man does not know this, and apparently now he will be very angry. The system rewarded him for completing the task. One of the old men is against the boy receiving the treasure, and the second says that he can't do anything, because if they go at him, the stone block will fall. The guy who is reaching for the treasure and is about to take it, the system notified that this seal of the ring is so strong that the owner cannot break it at the moment, and gave a reward for completing the task of obtaining the treasure. At this time, Lin Tian's friend appeared at the edge of the cliff from above. He shouts right into this hole and says that trouble has happened because Yun's daughter-in-law was captured by the mercenaries of the Foggy Night, and she urgently needs to be rescued. The main character heard his words and did not understand how this could happen, and is very shocked right now. It is clear that he is already going to go back upstairs at full speed to find out more about it. Quite quickly, he went up to the Khan and, taking him by the shoulders, begins to ask where the mercenaries of the Foggy Night are. He says that their union is located right outside the city. That's where they are most often. This information was enough for the guy, and like a true brave man, without wasting a minute of his time, he rushes to help Yun Er, even without waiting for his plump friend who gave the information. Jumping from one of the trees, he sees the mercenaries of the Foggy Night and the white-haired one herself, who asks him for help. He demands them to let her go. These bad guys, of course, turned their attention to him, and apparently something will happen now. The mercenary holding Yun Er on his shoulders, being very angry, tells the main character not to interfere with him in doing his work, and has already sent his armed chain dogs to deal with him. Of course, the answer of this bandit did not suit Lin Tian at all, and he promises to finish them all off. After which he enters berserk mode, starting to smash all the mercenaries left and right using his blow of rage. The main mercenary realizes that the main character is a first-class martial artist, so he decides to use an iron fist strike in hopes of finishing off this child, and Lin Tian has already prepared his hand. Lin Tian uses his Sky Cloud palm strike, and we see an X-ray of how the bad guy's skull cracks from the palm strike, and of course he won't be able to survive such a blow. The white-haired girl, who became scared, rushes into the arms of her savior, and he tries to calm her down, while next to them lies the corpse of one of the smug villains who failed to stop Lin Tian. The system notified that the task of killing the mercenaries was completed and gave the owner a reward for this, while this Sigma, holding Yun-Er in his hands, leaves this place, promising that this will happen to everyone who touches her. The Chinese GPT chat also congratulated the guy for being promoted to a second-level martial artist. He also earned the title of 100 Corpses. Yun-Er asks where they are going, and Lin Tian goes to the Xuan Kong clan to find an elder with hemorrhoids. Suddenly, the Khan came running, who was somehow trying to catch his breath and asked if everything was okay with the white-haired one. Lin Tian said that everything was okay, and asked if he knew how to get into the Xuan Kong sect. The man has already caught his breath and says that in 3 days, the Xuan Kong sect will choose the best students to join them in the competition. So the main character understands that this is his chance to prove himself to everyone. After listening to this, the joyful Lin Tian says that this time, he, representing the Lin family, will definitely win this competition and show everyone that he is not to be trifled with and that it is better for the villains to stay away from him. The main character and the white-haired girl moved on. The brown-haired man said goodbye to his friend with a wave of his hand, and the satisfied Khan said that if they win this competition, then together they will be able to get into the Xuan Kong sect. Lin Tian decides to make fun of his friend and says that if this is a competition where you have to eat a lot, then this fat guy will definitely win it and become the coolest. Next, we see how Lin Tian, together with Yun-Er, approach the building and are about to climb the steps to go inside. But the guy understands that he has 3 more days to prepare, and he needs to take advantage of this. Suddenly, some smug fool arrived on a carriage with a horse who shouts at Lin Tian to get out of the way, calling him a dog. The brown-haired man doesn't like it, and doesn't understand how he even dared to call him that. They crossed paths in a battle of views and want to directly tear each other apart. But the yellow-haired subordinate asks his boss not to be angry, and asks to give him time to explain to Lin Tian who he is. The yellow-haired man, walking straight up to his servant and peeping at the main character, says that he has nothing to do lately, so he wants to take advantage of the moment and have some fun with him. Blocking Lin Tian's path with Yun-Er, he says that he will compete with him to determine which of the two is eligible to participate in the competition, and who is not. The brown-haired man did not think that he was suitable to participate in the competition. But suddenly, for the ill-mannered guy, Lin Tian takes out a diamond card to show everyone how rich he is. The white-haired one is happy for him, and the yellow-haired one says that this cannot be. The servant of that evil guy also noticed this diamond card. His reaction is not much different from the reaction of his boss. He also cannot believe it and tries to say something about it, but cannot find the right words. This fat man kneels in front of the main character and asks for forgiveness and asks what he can do for him, calling him master. The brown-haired man only wants his carriage to be completely covered in gold. And here our heroes are already sitting on their new luxurious carriage. The guy is very happy and believes that he can get much more benefits for that kind of money. And the white-haired woman is just as happy and, cuddling up to the guy, calls him exquisite. 3 days later, Lin Tian and Lin Yun-Er set off on their new golden trough to the competition site, and the main character is already ready to kick everyone's ass there because he is very confident in his abilities. We see how the gray-haired grandfather says that the tournament is starting and the best participants will have a chance to be chosen by the Xuan Kong sect as external disciples. The crowd is very surprised and understands that there is a chance to get into this sect. Lin Tian has a new task. He must challenge everyone in the city of Hatsuba, fighting against everyone at once and win. Meanwhile, a golden trough arrives, which blinds the people present here. The main character jumps out of this trough, walks with confident steps straight towards the leading gray-haired old man, and wants everyone to pay attention directly to him, because he is about to say something right now. Standing on stage in front of everyone present, he confidently declares that he is alone on behalf of the Lin family, and challenges them all at once. The old man looks at him and is simply very surprised at the guy's self-confidence. The local warriors, of course, are infuriated by this guy's pride. They don't understand what exactly he's looking for here, and apparently, they still want to try to kick his ass by showing him that he's wrong. The guy sees how the audience is watching him and admiring him, because they have never seen such a madman. He understands that he has fans. His grandfather says that such madness has not happened since the beginning of the tournament. This is because he did not come here earlier. Lin Tian offered the warriors top-class pills. If they defeat him, they understand that these pills cannot even be bought with money, so apparently they will want to try themselves in battle with him. He waits for someone to challenge him, offering 2 healing pills for defeating him. The participants immediately became interested in this, and, apparently, the whole crowd of armed men attacked him, intending to completely put an end to him. The satisfied protagonist continues to stand in place, smiling slightly. He is not going to retreat, because he is confident that he will cope with all these weak fools and complete the task given to him by the system. In the next chapter, you can see how our Sigma again enters berserk mode and begins to throw all the participants left and right, causing them all to scream and simply fly into the air. Having dealt with all the participants in a couple of seconds, a satisfied Lin Tian comes straight up to the shocked and very surprised gray-haired presenter, saying that now he can announce the results of this competition. The old man, having already come to his senses, stands in front of the entire crowd and officially declares this strong man Lin Tian from the Lin family the winner, and now, of course, he is worthy of joining the Zhuan Kong sect. While all the participants are lying on the ground unconscious, Lin Tian together with Yun Er are leaving on their golden trough. The white-haired girl praises the guy, calling him the best, and he knew that he was beautiful even without her. The system has already notified the guy about the completion of the task and given him experience with coins. The guy has risen to the 3rd level of martial arts, and all events are transferred to Zhuan Kong Mountain in the Zhuan Kong sect. Today is the day of the sect's entrance examination. Today is a very important day for the participants, because after passing the test, they can become disciples of the Zhuan Kong sect. And in order to become inner disciples, they will have to gain the approval of the elders. Suddenly their peace is interrupted by our rich man arriving on his golden trough, the radiance of which still blinds those present. They do not understand what kind of golden trough it is, and just stand and endure. Lin Tian jumps from the trough and lands very gracefully in front of everyone. Having reached this test, he realizes that what he has been striving for all this time, he is going to pass this test. From afar, suddenly, the fat man Khan, who disturbed those present on the way, runs towards the main character. He highly praises Lin Tian's trough, and the brown-haired man is surprised how this fool was able to get into the Zhuan Kong sect. The fat man ran to the trough and looked inside, trying to find out how the white-haired beauty was doing, but he realized that she was not there and asked where she was. Lin Tian thought that he underestimated the Khan because he was put on this test. The main character answers his friend's question and says that only the winners of the competition get here, so she had to stay and wait for his return after these tests. Meanwhile, the bearded leader asks for silence and talks about the requirements of the exam. People must enter the cave and go to the exit on the other side. The first 100 people will become internal students, and the rest will be eliminated. The entrance to the cave behind this judge is already starting to open, and he says that all participants have only 1 day for this test, and it will start right now, so they better hurry. All the participants hurry into this cave, and Lin Tian asks the Khan to follow him without leaving behind. The man in orange clothes, of course, understood everything, and said that he would follow him like a dog following a bone. Our 2 characters entered a cave and slowly moved through it. It was very dark, so the main character's friend decided to light a torch to light the road and see where they were going. Suddenly, 2 armed bandits run up to them and demand that they stop and give them everything they have with them, after which they start laughing strangely and think that they can rob them. The plump one again turns to Lin Tian and asks what they can do to them, already thinking about running away from these robbers. But our Lin Tian is not satisfied with such a proposal. He's going to kick these robbers' ass for attacking them. He's going to do it alone and asks his friend to just watch. Khan says that he likes the guy more and more. The system told the guy to defeat the robbers without arms and legs, and he is going to do just that, pretending that he is somehow peaceful and harmless, asking them to come to him, because he wants to show something. Of course, one of the robbers, being hungry and thirsty for free treasures, is going to approach the guy demanding to show him what he is hiding from him and wants to take this thing for himself. But this stupid robber did not yet know that our giant main character is quite cunning, and when he approaches him, he receives a powerful blow to the face from which he flies several meters back. In flight, he touches his friend and now they fly further along with each other, but now he will not be bored with them and they will lie together. The system rewarded the brown-haired man for completing the task. The fat man in love calls the hero handsome. Because he beat these bandits, he thinks it's amazing and again wants to kiss him hard. But Lin Tian doesn't like it. These 2 continue to wander around the cave in search of a way out. It would seem that nothing foreshadows trouble. But suddenly the Khan smelled a strange smell and tells Lin Tian about it. The fat man, sniffing, realizes that it is the smell of blood and covers his nose because he felt disgusted because of this, The dissatisfied protagonist peers into something and tries to understand what this smell is from. Next, the Khan notices two armed people in the distance and two corpses in front of them. He attracts the attention of the brown-haired man, and he, in turn, surprised, asks these people who they are, expecting an answer from them. These are two more bad people who are standing next to each other and heard the main character's question, but apparently they are not in a hurry to answer it yet and are preparing for something. They are already jumping on the guy, and only in flight give an answer, saying that they are the ones who will finish them off. They are attacking from both sides. The brown-haired guy just looks at them and of course is going to deal with them. And suddenly during the flight, these two begin to combine into one whole person. It is already clear that something is wrong here, but the main character will have to deal with them if he wants to pass this test. Seeing this scene in the air, he looks at it in surprise and cannot understand what it is and how this can be dealt with, already assuming that they are shadow clones. He decides to use the cloud palm on them, but notices that they have disappeared somewhere and begins to look around trying to find them, because they can be anywhere and attack unexpectedly. The guy notices in time how the person who turned out from the fusion of these two clones tried to attack him from behind while he was not expecting it, and dodges in time, intending to strike a counterattack. After dodging, his enemy starts clapping and praising him. Having learned that he is a third-level master, he thinks that this is not bad, because he is just a genius among his peers, but he is still going to defeat him. The man again divides into two clones and says that they are also gifted, and he will not be able to dodge his attacks. Lin Tian is already tired that the battles do not stop one after another. He does not even know how strong these opponents are. Unexpectedly, the Khan is somehow able to distinguish a fake clone from a real person, and shouts to Lin Tian that there is a fake on the right, thereby trying to help his friend. The main character listened to his friend and already knows what can be done. He tells his enemy that he can already say his last words, because right now he will finish him off once and for all. It is clear that his opponent is very surprised at how he was able to recognize his cunning technique late, and already understands that everything will now be very bad for him, and he will lose in this deadly battle. Lin Tian uses a cloudy palm, thereby pinning his enemy directly to the ground, causing cracks to appear on the ground, and the lying enemy, being greatly shocked, can no longer do anything to him. The system rewarded the guy with experience for destroying two special guards. As we can see, there was nothing left of this guard. He simply evaporated, and only some kind of smoke emanated from the place where he lay. Next, the main character is surprised by someone's laughter. This voice says that finally someone broke his seal. He has been waiting for this moment for hundreds of years to see the light again. The system notified the activation of a side story. In the next chapter, you can see the person from whom this voice came. This is some kind of white-haired creature who was freed from some kind of imprisonment and apparently is very happy about it. He looks at these two with his red eyes and asks who broke his seal, thereby freeing him. Apparently, he wants to thank this person because he has been waiting for this moment for a long time. Khan can no longer stand it and is surprised by the sight of this creature. He put his hands to his face and loudly shouted, "Gods!" which attracted attention to himself. The white-haired man begins to turn to the fat man and with a smart look praises him, saying that he has excellent eyesight since he was really able to distinguish a fake from a real enemy, thanks to which Lin Tian won the battle. Nevertheless, Lin Tian decides to intervene in their conversation and says that it was he who broke the seal and said his name. The white-haired man's name is Xuan Ming, and since he helped him, he wants to ask him for something. The main character is shocked by Xuan Ming's ingratitude, because he helped him in such a way, and he didn't even give him anything for it. He also cannot understand what the ghost is going to ask him right now. The system gave a side quest. The guy must agree to his demands and respect him as a teacher. He immediately began to treat the white-haired one kindly, saying that he would help. He liked it and was sorry to live in his body. Of course, the brown-haired man didn't like Xuan Ming's proposal. He doesn't understand why he can't live in his heaven and tells the ghost that he himself is unreliable and weak. The white-haired man says that he will take him as a student. Hearing this, Lin Tian exhaled tiredly and apparently was about to agree to the conditions of this ghost who wanted to take revenge on someone. As a result, these two talked to each other for a few minutes and, having discussed everything, finally managed to come to an agreement, and both, being satisfied, high-fived each other. The system awarded the guy a reward for completing the quest and turned on the mentoring option. You can see how this ghost nevertheless moved into Lin Tian's body and says that now he is his master, which makes the main character look surprised. Lin Tian can already track the statistics of Xuan Ming, and being very angry because someone who will not pay rent, and also very angry, has settled in it, he grabbed the heavy Khan and headed towards the exit of this cave. Coming out of the cave, the main character finds a crowd of people in uniforms who say that he can choose 3 rewards at his discretion, and they also ask the guy to put on the clothes of the Zhuan sect before entering. Approaching the things that these people were carrying, he finds a bottle with some kind of elixir there and is going to use it right now, while the others are watching him right now. He immediately gives this elixir to Khan, who has been lying unconscious all this time, with the hope that it will help him and it will begin. The old man from the crowd is very happy at how generous Lin Tian is and saves other people's lives. Of course, our dear friend woke up from this, and without even looking around, the first thing he decides to do is ask the main character what they can serve him for breakfast right now. Lin Tian, already dressed in uniform, says that he doesn't know. Next, you can see how these two are heading to one of the buildings of this sect to rest and spend the night. The Khan is trying to keep up with Lin Tian, and of course, he himself dressed in the same uniform. Otherwise, he would not have been allowed in. The next day comes and the beaten Khan runs into Lin Tian's room with tears in his eyes and on his knees. The brown-haired man asks what happened to him, and he replies that someone beat him. Examining his friend, the main character asks him who could do this to him. He, lying on the ground, answers that a beautiful girl did it. And the brown-haired man, already knowing his friend well, understands that he deserved it. He grabs his friend by the leg and begs him not to leave him, because he wants help. The main character doesn't want to help him, thinking that it's all his fault and just wants to rest. But the system decided to take advantage of this moment and gives Lin Tian a task called support. He must find the person who beat the Khan. The brown-haired man considers this to be helping the king of abuse, but he will have to do it. The main character, dissatisfied with all this, asks the Khan to tell him more about it and, picking him up from the floor, asks if he knows where to go to find that same evil man and talk to him. Khan lies on the ground and tells his best friend that he will go with him and thanks him very much for his help, calling him a good man. In fact, I feel very sorry for this good fellow, but at least he will wait for help from the main character. These two came to the Zhuankong herbal medicine sect and walk along a narrow gorge in which there are a lot of people who communicate with each other about something. But our heroes need the Khan's offender. After a couple of moments, the attention of 2 friends is attracted by a guy with a loudspeaker. He talks about the old leader who will lead the team, and students of the 5th level and above samurai can enter this very team. A man with a flag in his hands appears. He says that the Knight Alliance has received income, and this is the 3rd most powerful team in the external sect, and students above the 6th level of samurai can join it. Several people in sect uniforms are seen. One of them talks about the disparate team led by the old leader. This team is guaranteed to receive 5 prefecture-level herbs, and the disciples of the warrior realm will be able to join. We are told about a valley of medicinal herbs located behind the main peak of Xuankong Mountain. It has a large amount of herbs. Different disciples are sent there every year. It lasts 3 days, and the sect receives half of the herbs collected. Meanwhile, the Khan discovered in the crowd a man who beat him and pointed his finger at him and said that it was he who beat him. Lin Tian understands that if he can help him, he will be able to gain experience. The main character, confident in his abilities, approaches the orange-haired man and asks if he beat his brother. The strong man says that this fat man was hitting on his girlfriend, which is why he got hit in the face several times. The crowd saw the showdown between 2 strongmen. They understand that Lin Tian ran into the Tiger of the Union. According to rumors, there is no chance in a duel against this strong man. They were convinced that it was really him and did not think that they would see him here. This strong man, who has been on a course of steroids for a long time, is very angry because of the guy's confidence. He asks him if he also wants to get hit in the face, and the brown-haired guy just smiles and says that he'll get it now. The Tiger of the Union can no longer stand it, and says that even with his strength, this guy is not his rival, and having already begun to charge his fist, he is going to deliver a powerful blow, hoping that Lin Tian will die. He delivers his powerful blow, which it would seem should have finished off this guy, but he did not even move from his place, but only stands and smiles looking straight into the eyes of his enemy, who, apparently, has already lost. From such a powerful blow, this orange-haired loser broke his arm. In pain, he begins to spin around on the ground in tears, and realizing what happened, he cannot believe that something like this happened at all, and Lin Tian says that he warned him. For completing the task, the system gave its reward. The guy also raised the level of the combat master to the 4th. Someone approached our guy and called him good and that he liked him, asking him to join his alliance. It turned out that it was a girl speaking. The crowd drooled over her and called her the first beauty in the outer sect, and the head of the outer sect alliance named Su Su. For what reason they were able to see this beauty today. The main character turned his attention to her, considering her a real beauty, and is already going to talk with this blue-haired girl about everything. But of course, everything cannot go so smoothly, and everything will definitely go bad. Suddenly, the system launches a deadly task from which the main character sighed dissatisfiedly, and approaching her, he said that she was good. But her breasts were too small, which made the blue-haired girl angry. At the words of this handsome guy, Susu became very embarrassed and, covering her chest, called Lin Tian shameless and tried to hit him, but he promised to help her, hoping that this would correct the situation. Apparently it worked, and the blue-haired Susu calmed down and trusted the main character, hoping that he could really help her with all her problems, and waited for him to say something else. He begins to talk to her about the technique of enlargement by touch, hinting at enlarging her balls with the touch of his strong male hands, already staring at them, thinking that his cunning plan will work. But the girl is not so stupid, and having given him a strong slap in the face, she turns away and is already leaving, calling this fool a stinking scoundrel. Being irritated, she also said that Miss Ben would not speak to him again. The system also notified that the task had been completed. Events are transferred to the wilderness of the Valley of Medicinal Herbs. It is nighttime on the street. The Khan and Lin Tian are collecting grass. The Khan does not understand why Susu did not go with them, and he says that if he approaches her again, they will be finished off. The fat man was already tired of collecting grass and lay down to take a nap on the mountain of herbs they had collected for the whole day. Having said before that he had not even thought about doing this, it was clear that he had already fallen into a deep sleep. The main character's attention is sharply attracted by some incomprehensible noise. Looking at the source of the noise, he notices two huge monsters who have attacked the blue-haired beauty and are trying to tear her apart. Next, these monsters notice Lin Tian, and leaving Susu on the ground, they suddenly rush straight at him, planning to deal with him too. The guy remembers how he flirted with her during the day, and now, at night, he will have to save her. These monsters came close enough to him. The first thing he decides to do is deal with the huge wolf using a wild collision. He hits it hard in the jaw with his elbow, finishing it off. Next, he needs to deal with a huge purple caterpillar. On it, he uses the falling palm of the clouds, from which it immediately died. And for killing these monsters, the main character received 200 experience. While two defeated beasts lie next to them, a proud Lin Tian approaches Susu and says that he came here to save her. She looks at him and cannot yet find the words to say anything. In the next chapter, we see how these two just silently look at each other, as if a spark flashed between them and do not say anything to each other, but simply enjoy this moment. At this moment, they are interrupted by the Khan, who asks for help from his friend Lin Tian. Turning around, he sees how some robber decided to steal a gold trough, and the fat man is trying to hold it with his weight. The main character, seeing this picture, got very angry, and having caught up with the carriage, jumped straight on this bandit, saying that he would now get it right in his face, and this helpless one stood and waited for the blow. We can see how Lin Tian dealt a powerful blow right to his face, causing the villain to simply fall from this trough. Thus, he was still able to save his treasures and help his dear friend. You can see that this blow was not fatal at all. This coward gets up from the ground, quickly running straight into the forest, and says that he remembered them all, promising to finish them off in the near future. The blue-haired girl begins to talk about this bandit. Because she knows him, she says that this is the head of Wang Ming, Wang Erha. He is that bad guy. He always counts on his uncle, who sits in the ministry. Turning straight to the source of the voice, the Khan notices the beautiful Susu there and simply does not believe his eyes. Because he sees the goddess right now in front of him, she, looking at him, begins to consider him very strange. After that, he lost consciousness, the main character. Going up to his friend, thanks the girl for telling her about the bandit and handing her the form of the sect, asking her not to interfere with them now. Then Lin Tian suddenly thought about something, telling her that for some reason he got distracted and remembered that they met only 3 whole days ago while looking straight at the blue-haired girl. Of course, this dissatisfied girl, as usual, didn't like something. Apparently, she remembered what this guy tried to do to her that day. She insulted him as a scoundrel and said that all people now don't care about him. Further, after all these strange events, we see how the participants finished collecting herbs, and at the moment when the counting of herbs began, it turned out that Lin Tian, Susu, and Han Dashuai collected 8752 herbs, and the entire sect collected 4376. The crowd of people watching this heard the results of collecting herbs. They are very surprised that these people collected more than the entire sect. Despite the fact that there were only 3 of them, they cannot understand how this could happen. People also look dissatisfied with why Susu joined them, and don't understand how good they must be for her to pay her attention to them. They also challenged Wang Wen, so we can assume that they are already in the grave. The next day comes, and the main character wakes up and starts calling his friend Han Dashuai, but he doesn't come as usual. It seems strange to him, and starting to look around, he finds something that scares him. Lin Tian discovers a long inscription on the wall that says, "If you don't want your brother to die, then come to Wang Ming." The brown-haired man understands that these people are serious and is going to help his best friend. After Lin Tian read this inscription, he became seriously angry and heading towards Wang Ming. He said that if they even laid a finger on the Khan, they would regret that they were even born into this world. Out of rage, the guy no longer knows what to do, and noticing the first wall that comes his way, he slowly approaches it and with one of his powerful kicks breaks it into small pieces, planning to do the same with the villains. Then the events move to Van Erha. One of his frightened guard dogs runs up to him and warns him that Lin Tian has already arrived, and he was just waiting for this moment and says that they let him inside. During his dialogue, the bad guy notices the serious-minded protagonist, who scatters his charges in different directions and shouts from afar so that they let go of his best friend Khan, otherwise he will destroy everyone here. The main villain of this place, being pleased with his action and standing with one foot right on the Khan, tells Lin Tian that it was he who ran into them and asks where Susu is now and apparently wants to hear an answer from the boy. The brown-haired man just said that he punished the thief who tried to steal their gold trough, but he has no idea about Susu, and, flexing his fists, he begins to slowly approach the bad guy, intending to kick his skinny ass. This smug villain tells Lin Tian not to think that he will not fight him, just because his cultivation level is much higher than his. Apparently this guy is confident in his victory. As a result, while this idiot was talking with Lin Tian, the main character notices a guy in blue clothes who, pointing his palm directly at him, is about to strike and thinks that he is an equal opponent for him. Lin Tian manages to somehow block the blow of this strongman, but at the same time he flew several meters back. The brown-haired man realized that this villain has people whose cultivation level is quite high. Susu was right. It will not be easy with this bandit. A fighter with a bun on his head tells Lin Tian that it's time for him to die, but he still doesn't know what awaits him next, and the main character calmly stands in place, letting him understand with his whole appearance that he cannot be defeated so easily. Unexpectedly for his enemy, Lin Tian uses Luo Yunjiang's hard fall ability and hits his opponent directly on the stomach with his fist, causing him to fly several tens of meters away. As we can see further, this fool who imagined himself strong and decided to fight with Lin Tian was immediately imprinted into the wall by his hands, causing large cracks to appear on the wall. Lin Tian approaches the defeated enemy and grabs him by the clothes, and the frightened one says that this cannot be and that there is something wrong with his cultivation of the guy, and the main character congratulated him on this and, apparently, finished him off. After the fight, he switched to the main loser and kicked him in the face, from which he, about to fall, opened the door and ended up in some room. Lin Tian says that this fool has nowhere else to run. This weakling fell straight to the floor, and being pinned under Lin Tian's foot, he is trying to intimidate him with his uncle, and supposedly if he doesn't remove his foot now and let him go, he will greatly regret it in the future. The main character pretended that he was scared, and seeing how the bad guy's legs were spread, he, with a crazy face and with all his strength, stepped right on his balls. Apparently he really likes to hit there. He delivers this crushing blow, and apparently the blow was too strong, causing this poor guy to scream so loudly that the scream could be heard right in the entire yard, even though he was in the room at that moment. Next, we see the main character who examines the system interface and understands that the technical levels are divided into human, earth, mysterious sky, and emperor. And he understands that he can combine two low and high-level techniques. After all the thinking, he discovers that he can also buy the heavenly sword, which exploded earlier, and perhaps this will be useful to him in the future, because it is not just sold here. He is very shocked by the price of 100 million. He considers it a robbery. But the heavenly sword technique can only show its maximum power in combination with the heavenly sword, so it will most likely be worth it. Meanwhile, friend Han has already woken up and does not yet understand what is happening. The main character and him are already planning to go home, and Lin Tian asks him to be careful in the future so that this does not happen again. Next, we are shown the events that take place in the Department of Criminal Law. Van Erch lies shocked after such a blow, and next to him is his uncle, who asks the doctor if he can cure him. The doctor says that his nephew will no longer be able to have fun with girls. His uncle was very angry about this, and being in a great rage, he hits the table and orders someone to bring here those who are to blame for his nephew's injury in order to execute them, because he is not going to forgive such a disgrace. At the beginning of the next chapter, we are shown the events that are taking place in the Criminal Justice Department. Lin Tian was still captured and tied up. Despite the fact that the rules do not say a word about lynching students, he is still kept here. The evil uncle comes point blank to the guy, and being very angry shouts at him, asking if he crippled his nephew, and the calm and fearless guy tells him straight to his face that he did exactly that and was quite merciful. He wanted to hear a confession, and now the guy faces a harsh sentence. He asks his servants to carry out all the punishments, because Lin Tian must learn that life can be even worse than death. It is clear from these chained dogs that they have been waiting for an order from their boss for a long time, and armed with a whip and other weapons, they approach the tied-up guy with crazy faces and are going to beat the crap out of him right now. Looking at these sadists, Lin Tian understands that right now he could be skinned if he remains alive. In his opinion, some character should now appear to save him from them. The blue-haired guy with a whip delivers his first blow. It hits Lin Tian directly on the shoulder, and he gets a deep wound from this. He tries to endure this terrible pain and does not give up. Meanwhile, the protagonist's best friend, Khan, asks for help from the beautiful Susu, and with tears in his eyes says that he was arrested by the Minister of Criminal Law and Order, and without her help, he will be beaten to death right now. She listened completely to the Khan and simply cannot believe his words. Complete horror washed over her, and she wants to try to help the main character, because he is actually a very good person. The girl, with difficulty holding back tears, turns to her sister and says that she owes her life to Lin Tian and asks her to help him. But despite the fact that she is the elder of the inner door, she should not interfere in these matters. She tries to convince the elder and says that they are mistaken, because Lin Tian is not to blame for anything, and he helped many of their sisters. At this time, the Khan is on his knees and asks to save his best friend. As a result, the elder asks them both to wait here, and she herself goes somewhere on business. Let's hope that she is going to help Lin Tian right now and will definitely be able to help him. We return to the main character, who has already managed to withstand 8 punishments, and this earns them respect. But since he offended Wang Leiling's nephew, even the King of Heaven will not save him. The beaten and tired guy is already telling them not to hesitate, but at the same time he doesn't understand where the system went. He tells her that a couple more punishments and he will die. But the system is still silent. A cheerful blue-haired sadist approaches his master and says that all the heavy punishments have already been applied and asks him what they should do next. Being interested, he is waiting for new instructions. But the cruel old man Wang Leiling, looking at the guy, is not going to feel sorry for him. He wonders how long he will last, and he orders his chained dogs to start cutting his flesh piece by piece. The blue-haired man has already picked up a long and sharp knife. The sitting and bound Ling Tian just sits and looks straight at him, thinking that his days are already destined and today he will die, because no one came to help. But suddenly, for the main character and for the other people in the room, someone knocked down the door to this room and did it with such force that this damn door flew straight into the executioner and pushed him far away from Ling Tian. The old man paid attention to this and cannot understand who dared to break into the outer door of the criminal law enforcement department right now, and is already going to deal with this person, because in his opinion, he did wrong. Fortunately for the main character, it was Suzhou herself who came here in time at the request of Susu and the Khan in order to save Lin Tian from these terrible tortures, and apparently she will be able to do this. Wang Leiling looks at her very displeasedly and asks in bewilderment what this all means, because he cannot understand why she decided to burst in here without telling anyone. The thugs have already stood behind her, and she says that she came here to take Lin Tian. The old man does not believe her words and asks not to make him laugh, because she can take anyone but him. He is in no way going to give him up. Not even a second has passed, as this uncle's servants are already lying right on the ground, disarmed. With all these actions, she makes it clear to this weakling that he will not be able to stop her under any circumstances. The surprised old man is also already lying pinned to the ground. He understands that he cannot do anything to her, and only lies on the ground. He can only watch as she goes to take Ling Tian from here. Standing in front of him, she tells him not to forget about the status of the Wang family, and whether he deserves to be an elder is up to the Su family to decide. And if he insults their family, then he himself knows what awaits him. After she calmed down the villains, she approaches the exhausted Lin Tian and gets rid of the ropes with the help of her magic. He is so weak that it seems that he will fall forward right now. As expected, the beaten protagonist, after being released, falls straight onto the Suzhou with the last of his strength. He asks her why she decided to save him, but she is not waiting for an answer yet, and the system, due to its poor condition, has launched a protection mode. We see the main character in bed, who, before waking up, sees a pile of candies in front of him, but after he woke up and tried to come to his senses, he cannot understand where he ended up. To his surprise, he discovered a Susu, who was approaching him licking the same candy that he saw before waking up. He tries to ask her how he got here after all. She just called him a scoundrel and says that when she saved him, he swore that he would thank her for the rest of his days. And now, having eaten her tofu, he pretends that he doesn't know anyone here. This fool can't remember that her tofu, and how he promised to thank her for the rest of his life. His head is pounding and he asks her what he's doing at her house. The smug blue-haired girl tells the guy that if she hadn't persuaded her sister to save him, he would already be dead in the criminal justice department, and so he should thank her. After listening to Susu, he was lost in his thoughts because he didn't expect that she could have such a powerful sister. It seems that the Su family is very strong and it's not good to joke with them because they can kick ass. The girl is perplexed how he woke up after being unconscious for only 2 days, even though Sujo said that he would spend at least half a month like this, and the guy just took a medicinal pill, which is why he recovered so quickly. The beauty was very surprised by these words. She didn't know that if he had 2 healing pills of the earthly class, she doesn't understand how a scoundrel like him could get so rich. Apparently, she envies him. He laughs at her and says that he didn't even buy these pills at all. She was even more surprised by this and is already thinking that the guy is familiar with alchemy and uses it to make these pills. Lin Tian says that she understands it, but there is nothing to be happy about. She got angry and calls him an idiot, because alchemy is the rarest talent in the entire Luoying Empire, and not every alchemist is able to practice cultivation. She decides to leave the guy, who only recently woke up after 2 days of unconsciousness. She asks him to stay here, and she herself needs to talk to her sister about some matters. When the girl has already left, the guy realizes that he was able to withstand all these punishments because of the bonus of pretending, and in the future he should raise her rank, because anything can happen and he needs to be prepared. Meanwhile, Susu had already managed to tell her sister about Lin Tian's abilities. She would never have thought that he was an alchemist practicing cultivation. Without realizing it, she saved a real genius. Sujo understands that he will be very useful in the Su family, so she tells Susu that he should join them. But at the same time, others will not have to know about it. Let it be a secret. Susu has already returned to Lin Tian, and since he is healthy, there is no point in staying here. He thanks her sister for her help and promises to repay them in the future. For some reason, the beauty is silent and just looks at the guy. Remembering the words of her elder sister, she stops the guy asking him to wait because she is going to tell him something right now. He already thinks that she wants to confess her love to him or spend the whole night with him. After stalling for time, she somehow gathers all her strength and asks Lin Tian if he can join her alliance, because with his amazing skills, he will be very useful for all of them. In the next chapter, we see how the girl answers from the main character. He starts smiling, gives his consent, and says that he will definitely join them to help, because they are very good people. He also sees that the blue-haired girl is very embarrassed when she talks about serious things, and in vain he expected something more from her. It is clear from him that he was slightly sad, because this was not what he expected to hear. Suddenly, a joyful Khan comes running, who is very happy to see his brother Lin Tian. He is glad that he has finally woken up. Because he missed him a lot, tears of happiness are flowing from him, and he wants to hug the main character. They manage to evade the flying man, and at that moment Lin Tian introduces Susu to her friend and asks to accept him into her alliance. She sees how loyal his brother is, so she is going to accept him too. Blue-haired says that in 2 days they are going on a sortie, and since they are new, they need to get to know other members of the Union. She is already going to send 2 friends to the others. 2 days later, we see Susu going with some orange-haired man to a tomb located at the intersection of Qingzhou and Tianbei and Tianyu prefectures. The Xuankong men, Tianyu men, and Qingyu men sects can enter into battle with each other, so you should be careful. They are going to wander around some cave. The main character is going to go very first and tells the others that he will lead them, because he does not want them to admire the beauty of Susu, and these words embarrassed her very much. You can see how this campaign walks through the cave under the leadership of Lin Tian. In the middle, there is a blue-haired woman who holds a burning torch and illuminates the path for other members of the group. They are all heading somewhere together. This search group finds a bunch of chests that glow yellow from the inside. When they open them, they see that these chests are full of heavenly-level healing pills and are very happy about this, because these are valuable things. People already surprised examine these heavenly pills, and the orange-haired expert mathematician understands that one such pill costs at least 500,000 yuan. There are 20 chests, each with 80 or 90 pills, which means that it is hundreds of millions. The Khan rejoices at such luck. While all members of the group were rejoicing at this discovery, some people quietly crept up to them and immediately recognized their sister Susu. Turning around, our heroes notice not very good people, which makes them angry. It turned out that these were some armed bandits. Their leader asked Susu not to be afraid, because according to them, they came to protect her and ask how she will find a way out by following these weaklings, offering to drink with them.